To find someone just like you with the same thought processes, emotional habits, morals, and values sounds like an ideal connection. And for some personality types, that's certainly the case. Yet, what is an INFJ INFJ connection like? Is it really as liberating and awe-striking as they'd hoped? Welcome back, Psychos. Today, we're going to be talking about the extremely rare INFJ to INFJ connection and whether or not it's what it's cracked up to be. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel, as well as to click the notification bell so that you never miss a video. Number 1. First meeting. You would think that when an INFJ meets another INFJ, it wouldn't be long before they made the realization. However, that's usually not the case. Since INFJs have a natural chameleon effect when it comes to socializing with different crowds, they may either show up as their extroverted and friendly selves, or they may prefer to stick to their more reserved and observing demeanor. Either way, INFJs don't wear their personality traits on their sleeves, and a lot of who they are is only apparent when they want it to be. So, the question is, how many INFJs have you met and didn't even know it? Well, probably not many, but it's definitely happened. One of the sure ways INFJs are able to point out other INFJs is in their interests in the topic of conversation and their listening skills. When two INFJs meet, even if they haven't a clue which type they are, their mutual calm demeanor, genuine interest, and keen listening will align effortlessly. Number 2. Common interests and morals. Once an INFJ has gotten to know their counterpart, the shyness and hesitancy will quickly dissipate. Not only do they feel like a conversation with their mutual type is a breath of fresh air, but they'll have an underlying sense of finally being understood. In fact, they'll appreciate each other's need to follow their moral compass, and more times than not, these morals are mutually shared. However, that's not always the case. Depending on life experiences and interests, some INFJ to INFJ connections won't require any defensiveness over these beliefs, yet this stubborn righteousness can also cause issues. If both INFJs have a different sense of what is considered right, it may be difficult to overlook and ultimately become a deal breaker as to whether or not the connection will go any further, especially in romance. Number 3. Mutual trust. One thing the INFJ to INFJ relationship is sure to demonstrate is a great deal of trust. Speaking of morals, trust and honesty is always at the top of the INFJ's values, so you can bet that this mutual connection would be a safe place to utilize and exchange this assurance. Rooted in their intuition and empathy, INFJs need to trust their partner from the get-go, and they'll find this natural certainty in one another. However, with honesty comes blunt feedback and, at times, difficult communication that both INFJs would have to learn to appreciate and not take personally. Since they can have difficulty with criticisms, this mirroring relationship would serve as a great realization that it's better to say it than to hold it in to avoid disruption. Number 4. Understanding each other's source of stress. Let's just say, as put together as an INFJ may seem from the outside, it doesn't take much to totally stress this personality type out. Overthinking and self-doubt are nothing new to the INFJ, and most of the time they keep it buried so deep that nobody would ever stand a chance pointing it out. However, when it comes to the INFJ's closest relationships, they have no choice but to show this side of them. Luckily, an INFJ partner would totally understand. Whether it's relying on physical stimuli like eating, drinking, and shopping, or the complete opposite, such as avoiding bodily cues like hunger, each partner would have the tools and experience to recognize each other's stress. Not only that, but the INFJ will naturally try to observe the situation without being pushy, in order to find the source and then go about finding a solution. Both partners would understand the sense of irritability and decipher whether or not it's alone time or affection that is required of them. And that, my friends, is hard to find. Number 5. Conversations like no other. With seriously interesting imaginative thoughts and a deep desire to understand the misunderstood, the INFJ would happily talk an ear off, providing the topic of conversation has some sort of depth. In fact, it's rare that this personality type is given the proper set and setting to actually communicate these interests. But when they do, they either end up grabbing people's attention or completely confusing them. In the INFJ to INFJ relationship, this worry is a thing of the past. Like we said, if both partners have similar morals and values, once they become familiar with each other, there isn't any holding back when it comes to communicating their inner thoughts. From metaphysics to taboo lifestyles and everything in between, when two INFJ minds are matched, there's no coming down from their whirlwind of deep conversations. In fact, there's nothing that bonds an INFJ couple like introspective communication. And because of that, they get to know each other on a deeper level than most couples. Number 6. The mutual need for solitude. There's nothing that gets in the way of a happy relationship with an INFJ than the misunderstanding of their need for alone time. It's not that it's particularly difficult to explain, but it's certainly difficult to relate to for some personality types, mostly because it's not just an every now and then occurrence. Actually, the INFJ's need for alone time is usually mixed with a craving for socialization, and for that reason, it can be seriously difficult to keep up with knowing when and why they choose the times they do to retreat. Of course, in the INFJ to INFJ connection, this is hardly an issue. Since both types will find lengthy or busy social outings rather draining, there won't be any discrepancies when it comes time to go. Plus, since both people would be considered particularly low-key and calm, all of a sudden, alone time won't necessarily mean time apart. And for the INFJ to find someone that they can remain in company with while they rest and recharge is not only rare, but is almost unheard of. Number 7. The possibility of playing out some of their imaginative fantasies. True understanding brings a lot of comfort to the INFJ personality type, as it would with most people. However, for the INFJ to really feel comfortable, there's a lot about them that needs to be figured out and ultimately accepted, like what happens in the INFJ to INFJ connection. Once they feel comfortable enough to allow someone a look into their deep imagination, it can become a total game changer. By taking their thoughts out of their own minds to explain it to a like-minded individual, the INFJ increases their chances of actually experiencing that potential excitement in real time. With a little encouragement and the ability to match their fantasies to that of their INFJ partner, both INFJs will be pleasantly surprised at the non-judgmental action they're encouraged to take on it. Whether these imaginative thoughts are related to the romantic relationship or not, INFJs have the ability to think outside the box with a particular preference to go against societal expectations. And so, the INFJ to INFJ connection can serve as the perfect breeding ground for some amazing future-based potential. And last but certainly not least, number 8, reciprocated intimacy and similar love language. Speaking of fantasies, INFJs are known for their particularly passionate love lives, or at least a passionate ideal of what their love life should be like. Idealistic, with a fairy tale-like view of romance, many INFJs are stuck longing for a deeply connected partnership based on deep emotional and physical intimacy. They're not ones to date casually or to rely on multiple connections to get their fill of confidence, yet they can also be quite picky as to who they spend their time with. This is where an INFJ to INFJ connection can be considered that ideal match. By taking things slow and demonstrating different forms of intimacy prior to the physical aspect of a connection, both INFJ partners would have a mutual sense of understanding that is difficult to find elsewhere. In fact, according to psychologyjunkie.com, in terms of INFJ love languages, quality time and words of affirmation are the most preferred among INFJs, with physical intimacy being the next in line. And since we as humans tend to love the way we prefer to be loved, showing these preferred methods of affection can seem effortless, making for two very happy and loved INFJs. Well, that's it for today, psychos. So, if you're an INFJ personality type, have you ever been in a relationship with another INFJ? let us know in the comments below. Also, make sure to leave us a like, share with your friends, and also subscribe to our channel for more psycho videos.